Hey, this is Reza.
This is Sandy.
Welcome back to episode 21 of the Stone Cold Sober podcast.
Sweet 21. It's a beautiful day out.
It's a great day. I just finished running.
Yeah. I just came back from brunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was brunch? It's my favorite meal of the day that I
Brunch
don't
was
eat
good.
every day.
It was all right. Then we went to this Peruvian place, Mancora. It was good. It was my roommate's girlfriend's birthday, so
Cool.
it was good to be out. Kind of went a little too hard yesterday. I left work at 2:30. I came home. I did laundry. I cooked a bunch of meat. On the way home, when I was buying, I usually buy chicken and some sausages. I
Yeah.
saw in the steak area that they had marked down a couple of patties for immediate sale. So I saw this Angus chuck steak that was a pound and a half, and they were selling it for $3. I was like, a pound and a half of meat for $3. So I came home and I used my big ass new pan that I bought. So I ate that real quick yesterday, and I also ate a pound of asparagus just because I figured the steak had to have something to go with it.
Yeah.
All this happened at 5 o'clock, and I ended up going back out and meeting some coworkers at the bar that is right below our office.
Okay.
Except I ate an edible. I won't lie. I'll come out and say it. And one of my good friends, she was there. She knew what was going on, but it hadn't hit me yet. And I'm a pound and a half, or basically 2 pounds of food in, and then there were sliders that got ordered. And I probably ate 4 sliders. Now, mind you, things get really shaky at this point, memory wise. But it turns out that I bought a rowing machine. I bought a rowing machine through Amazon, the app on my phone, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
While you were out, you weren't even home.
I wasn't even home. That's a crazy thing, right? I bought a rowing machine on my phone after sort of hearing the reviews that the girl that I knew, her roommate has it. It's
That's
really
so
compact. It full range of motion. I think it could be something cool.
That's so random. But you're
I
not
know.
going to cancel it. You're going to let it come through.
Well, I woke up this morning. I was like, how come I have the feeling like I own a rowing machine, but it's not in my room right now? I was still a little high when I woke up this morning. And I went through my phone. I was like, I did order it yesterday. It comes on Tuesday, so I'll let you guys know next week how I like it. But ideally, I'll use it at least once a day just to get a nice sweat in,
Yeah.
Because my work schedule is still pretty wild right now. Tomorrow, usually the Zoc football game's on Saturday, but we're slated for tomorrow at 3.
I see.
And it's in 138th Street, all the way on the west side. So
Are you going to walk it?
I'm gonna try and walk back. It will be the most I've ever walked. I think it's 7 miles.
Jesus.
Normally, I'm capping out at around 5.5.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking of just at least maybe not walking all the way home because I've got dinner plans the Sunday night at the Smith.
Uh-huh.
If I can walk after the game to the Smith and grab a burger, that'll be the perfect end of the day meal.
Gotta love a burger.
Burger and
I
fries
want-
after football and 6 miles of walking.
See, now I want a burger after doing that run. I haven't had
Yeah.
a sufficient meal yet. I'm going to eat after this podcast, and now I want a burger.
You should go get one. Is there a place around you that sells a clean burger? Or?
Clean burger. I don't know if you call Five Guys clean, but it's delicious.
You should get Five Guys.
I don't know if I want to get Five Guys. It could be. It's too much. It might be too much today.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see.
But that was my day yesterday. It was a really tough week for me, emotionally. Work was just really stressful, and I wasn't feeling like I was being heard on some things.
Yeah.
So I sort of went there's a fine line between where I should be operating and where I was operating. Where I should be operating is this frame of mind that I like to call not giving a fuck. And what I mean by that is you work really hard, but you let the small, inconsequential things sort of just slide off your back.
Yeah.
Where you don't let these things bother you. But I was just letting everything get to me this week, and I basically went from the not giving a fuck to pure apathy. And this weekend, that's one of the rare weeks where I've visibly just said, you know what, do whatever you want. I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And I could tell that my group noticed. So I have. That's why I went so hard this end of the week, just like really try to burn some steam or let off some steam. Uh, but hopefully next week I'll be better.
Yeah.
It's not usually because I feel very invested in what I do. I get passionate about my sort of my viewpoints on things, and I just this week like some meetings got pushed another week, so like our timeline keeps getting pushed out, and to me that's just not really what I want.
Right. Right. I hear you.
How was your week?
So I do have a bit of an update on that whole internship situation that I had talked about last week. So I told you that I think I told you how much I was being offered for that from that company out in San Francisco, and I was apprehensive about that because I was worried that I wasn't going to be getting paid enough to really pay for me going out there. I'd have to pay out of pocket for a good bit of stuff. Well, so I had emailed with them. So I talked to my advisor and I told him the situation, and he basically told me, he understands, but he still strongly encourages me to really consider the value that I'm getting from this internship because, and I do get this, like at the end of the day, it's not really about how much money I'm making or anything like that. I'm not like as long as I break even, I'm cool with that. But to me, it's like, well, if I have to pay out of pocket to go live out there and still pay for things like my car back at home, things like that, it makes it a little less exciting for me.
I bet.
So I decided to email them and let them know I was still looking into my options and everything. And they emailed me back saying that, and I had to they wanted me to take a programming test because I program in Python primarily. So they wanted me to take this test, and I didn't take it because it was going to cost $50 to them for me to take it. So I told them, let me even see if it's feasible for me to live out there. And they got back to me and said, no, you know what, take the test, because if you do really well on it, I might be able to show this to my superiors to get them to bump up the pay a little bit. And I was like, all right, great. So I bought the test, and I took the test, right? The test took it took 80 minutes. It was 40 questions, and you had 3 minutes to answer each question. So at the most, it would have taken me 2 hours to finish. So it took me 80 minutes. I got it's on a scale from 0 to 5. I got a 3.5 out of 5. And the way that the rubric or whatever is broken down, I won't really worry about the lower scores, but it's 2.51 to 3.5, you're proficient in the language, 3.51 to 4.5, you're advanced, and 4.51 to 5, you're an expert. And they give you, it's like a certification test, so they give you a master rating when you get certified. So I passed the test, and I'm now certified according to that site. Mm-hmm. And I emailed the results back to them, and also told like what area you're weakest in. So I was strong in all three of the areas, which were like built-in functions, I think the language in general, and I can't remember what the last one was. And then I was weak in Python classes. And I knew that, and I won't like. Or do you want me to describe briefly, quickly?
Yeah, a little bit. Why not?
So a class is a particular the data structure that you can use when you're programming. So when you program, you have all sorts of data structures. I think you're familiar with so you can have like integers, things like strings. If you're like on a low level language like C or C++, you can have characters, and then your strings will be made up of a character array. So like multiple characters that are basically tied together. Mm-hmm. And Python makes a lot of these data structures much easier to handle, so you don't have to worry about things like integers, strings, floats, doubles. Like it handles everything dynamically, so you don't have to declare what the specific variables are. But there are still things like classes, and they can basically so if you're going to code like a video game, for example, you can have when you have classes, you basically code. You can have multiple classes, or like an instance of a class for multiple things. So I might have like a person class, right? And within this person class, I might have a variable with like eye color, hair color, height, weight. So these are different these are each different data structures in themselves. So you have like for like eye color, hair color. That might be it could be like a Boolean value or whatever. It could be, but we'll just say it's a string. So
Yeah.
it's, the actual color, and then you'll have like the height and weight. Those will be integers. But you can also have functions that are specific to these classes. So when you build a person, it actually like it'll run a specific function that's only visible to that particular class. And then you can also have like things called inheritance. So you can have a subclass of a class, and it just gets a little more complicated. So you can have like, if you have a person but you have a specific race of a person, so like if it's an elf or a human or something like that, so everyone's a person, but a human is not an elf, and an elf is not a human, so they have their
Right.
own specific class, and it gets a little bit complicated. But I know that I'm weak in classes. I haven't used a class in Python since I was a junior in college, so that's 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And like in any other language, I still haven't used classes, and like I guess that was the last time. Still, like C and C++, I had done classes maybe around that same time, junior year. So I knew when I was going to this test that if there was anything that was going to trip me up, it was going to be classes, because the types of questions that you can ask you can be a bit obscure. And I also didn't know the actual, like the types of questions that I was going to be asked. Like the description of the test didn't say it before you purchased it. And I Googled online, and I'd seen some information about their older version of the test, but I told you about that. That was like a 13-year-old forum post. It
Yeah.
was from like 2002.
So that, like, how relevant is that still?
Well, so the test has been like upgraded and everything. So the test was for it, that what I had seen about that forum post from 2002 was for Python like 1 point something. The test that I took was for Python 2.4, which is actually slightly outdated, I think. So they maintain two versions. There's Python 2 and there's also Python 3. I mostly code in Python 2, although they're very much interchangeable, Python 2 and Python 3. But because there are some minor details with my Python 3, I just figured I'll take the Python 2 one. Even though it was slightly outdated, it wasn't that big of a deal.
Got you.
So the test, I didn't really know what to expect. And I don't know about like, how were you on like reading comprehension tests in like high school and like for like the SATs and like AP tests and all that stuff? Like, were you good at that?
Yeah.
So I've never been too great with some of those. And the reason's because as I would like read those passages, I'll like start trying to like pick it apart as I'm reading it, or try to figure out what they're going to ask me. And I should like read the questions beforehand. But if I do read the questions beforehand, then I'm trying to look for the answer as I'm reading it. And it becomes like this, it's just like this weird dynamic I just can't like separate myself from the exam for a minute and just read it and then interpret it afterward, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And with these programming tests, what they ask you is I try to give that relationship, because not everyone programs, but what they do is they might have a passage of code and say this code is supposed to do this, right? Or you've written this code and you execute it. What would be the output of the code? And some of the code would be really short and quick, and some of it was a little bit longer. And trying to like keep track of like certain things in your head and keep track of what certain lines are supposed to do can become a bit tricky. And especially when they ask you what would the output be, because a lot of times when they ask that, there are going to be like errors, and not only errors, but a specific error. And you have to try to reason why it would be a specific error. So there you have like, they would give you the code, and then they would give you 5 choices on the multiple choice. And you have to pick the sequential like sequences of what would be output at each line. And one of them might be like a type function. One of them might be like a value error, like, integers that not set properly or whatever it would be. And sometimes it's right, and it would just output like, 2, if that would be the answer, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to try to sit there and reason why it might be that way, figure out if it's going to be an error or not, and all that good stuff. Now, of course, it's just code. So technically, I could have typed the code into an interpreter, a Python interpreter, and executed it and see what it would output. But some of those codes were like, some of the functions were kind of long, and I only had 3 minutes. So if I were to sit there and try to read everything, then try to figure out the answer, I'm like, you know what? I don't know the answer. I was out of time. I couldn't type everything in. The code was an image, so you couldn't like copy the code and just paste it. You would have had to type it in yourself. So
That's a little bit more less traditional than your standard reading comprehension test.
Yeah, it is. It is. You're right about that. It's just like try to like comprehend exactly what the code should do, and or what the coach is trying to do and should do. So like that's the weird thing. Like that's the weird dynamic. Trying like especially when there's going to be errors in the code, you have to recognize that it's an error and say why it's an error. They asked like some really intricate questions at times. Some of them were easy, so I was able to answer them like almost instantly. And at times, like when I did have an easy one, like if it's almost like doing a math test, right? You could
Yeah.
the answer, or you think you know the answer, you could just put it into your calculator and test it or check it. So while I don't think I was supposed to, I just put the answer, or I put the code into my interpreter just to double check my answer. And I don't think I ever changed my response based off of what I had input. So technically, I didn't really need to have that open. So end of the day, I got a 3.5 out of 5. So that was literally right on the border of proficient and advanced. And
Jeez.
I didn't know what their breakdown was. Like, what did they want me to score?
Right.
I don't think they were looking for, I'm not sure if they were looking for a specific number, but I think they were looking to see what I was weak in and what I was strong in. And so I emailed the scores to them, and then I got a response back and it said, they said that based on my score, they're a little concerned that the project might be too ambitious for me. And so we're just have to move on at this point. That's not exactly what they said, but that's basically what it said.
Right.
So, I was a little disappointed, but at the same time, it's cool. I knew beforehand that that's what I was going to be weak in. I didn't know what they wanted. Like, I didn't know what they were expecting or what they needed me to be strong in.
Yeah.
And to be honest, based off the description of the project, I don't know if I would have even needed to use a class in Python for the project. But, it is what it is. At the same time, the financial aspect of it made it really difficult for me to even consider.
Right. That was the toughest thing.
Right. So at this point, I did tell you that I had an interview for this at this company in Seattle. So I just had that interview yesterday, and I think it went pretty well.
Awesome.
They had she quickly just explained the company to me. Then she just asked me to describe one of the major projects that I've worked on since I've been in grad school. So I talked to her about one of the published papers that I had, one of the projects that I worked on, and that's since been published.
Right.
And then she had questions in 3 specific areas. The first one was programming. The second one was statistics, and the third was molecular biology and genetics. So I started off with the Python questions, and those were for the most part pretty simple, but it's weird being asked these questions over the phone because
Right.
you're not actually seeing it written. Like, it's not written down in front of you, so you're trying to interpret it I'm trying to interpret it as she says it. And I would repeat things back all the time to make sure that I knew exactly what she was asking, because she wasn't giving me anything when it came to the responses. So as far as the programming questions went, I don't think those were too difficult. I was able to answer those, and I don't think I missed any of them. I may have maybe messed up a little bit here or there in terms of syntax or whatever, because I'm
Right. You're
talking.
on the phone.
Yeah, I'm describing open paren, close paren, open bracket, close bracket. It's a little weird. And even trying to keep track of certain variable names that I have to make up as I'm going. And it's not like they were asking me long stuff. They were short. It's like a 1-liner or a 2-liner answers that I would
Gotcha.
actually code. But it's just weird when you're not typing it and you're not seeing it. And then she let me pick whatever order I wanted to go into. So I could have picked statistics first or whatever. So I started with programming. I thought molecular bio and genetics might be a little weaker for me, but those questions were either I'm decent at molecular bio and genetics at this point in my career, or the questions were just really basic.
What if it's both? What if it's both?
It could be both. You're right. It could be both.
Let's believe in ourselves.
I thought it was going to be my weakest.
I believe in you. Shit.
And so I got all those questions right, actually.
Nice.
And then we did statistics, which was my weakest. So she had a few questions about the programming language R, and how I might how I might write something, or run a particular tests and stuff like that. So that was definitely my weakest, but I'm not. Well, we'll see. I think the interview overall was pretty good, and they said they'll get back to me really soon. They'll have another round of interviews. And then after that, if I do well on that, then she said they usually bring people in for a face-to-face interview, but with people like me who are far away, they'll do a Skype conference call.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. And then I've also applied to several companies. I don't remember if I said this last week. I applied to several companies within like this region. So places that I could drive to reduce on expenses if I were to travel abroad. So to I wouldn't need to rent a car at that point. So I applied to some companies in like the Boston area, as well as some companies in like the DC, like Maryland area. So I'm hoping to hear back from some of those places, especially since, despite the fact that I know this company's going to get back to me soon if they want to have a second round of interviews,
Yeah.
it's still going to be a bit of a process. I didn't ask about compensation. I did ask if they had like a program or any like if there was what they did for students coming from abroad, and she said, well, it's a paid internship. We don't have like a they don't pay. They're not going to pay for me to fly out there or live out there or anything like that. But based off of their one single Glassdoor salary reporting,
Yeah.
they do pay their interns much better than the other company did. So I'm a little bit more optimistic that if I'm selected for this one, I would be able to live out there comfortably.
Yeah, that's always nice.
Yeah. And that was like, I mean, in terms of like the internship stuff, that was it for me. As far as research went this week, nothing too new. I'm working on a project with one of these students in my lab, and he's trying to finish up a project so he can publish a paper soon. So that's
Okay.
been going well. But I've just been kind of like, you know what? I'm 4 years in, and I still don't have like a primary author paper for myself. I just need to like buckle down and do something about that.
Okay. How do you plan on doing that?
Well, I have a few like I already have my PhD project mostly figured out. So what I do want to do is do my proposal. So if I don't do an internship, I want to finish my proposal before the end of summer. But the reason I haven't done anything, the reason why I haven't finished anything is because as far as my master's thesis project went, there were two projects for that one. It's weird. I said there's one project, but there are two projects that encapsulated this bigger project. One of those projects was in collaboration with another researcher, and that work has been published. I helped out with like a major part of the analysis. Now the other project that hasn't been published, I just finished like a small subset of the work, and I still have to do stuff for that one. Now if I finish the analysis, I could publish that one. The reason why I haven't done anything is because I'm always like working on like I finish like a major component of an analysis, and then I move on from there. And if I were to go beyond that, I could finish and I can publish. So what I need to do is I need to like go beyond what I'm working on for like this smaller analysis, and I like in terms of my PhD project, like I have to finish these certain like specific components. So there are things that will get done, but they kind of get put on the back burner because when you have a lot of collaborations and stuff, those take priority over what I want to work on for myself, because there's no real timetable unless there's a risk of somebody else doing the exact same thing as what I'm doing, which there's not really.
Right.
So I guess what I really need to do is just sit down and think, all right, well, I actually already know what the project is. So I know what the project I know what the project is that I want to work on. I just need to make sure I have the proper direction, and I know what I'm working on every single day is actually necessary and relevant to the completion of the project. So I just need to plan better.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That
So
makes
I've been
sense.
trying to do that this week. I've been writing down, what I want to like. So I'm writing like a Python algorithm, a Python script. I guess that script could be published, but that's not really the point of it. There's a bigger analysis that goes with it, and I've sent the data off to some of the collaborators that we have, and I haven't heard back from them yet. So what I've been actually thinking about doing is how to like make my results a little bit more robust. I'm trying to predict stuff. I'll just
Oh,
say
okay.
stuff. I'm trying to predict stuff, and I'm trying to better validate them and give a better like conclusive results to say that these are actually real, and therefore make the biological validation much easier by eliminating that set of predicted stuff, the candidates, and make that easier for them to reduce that list to like like I'm 99% confident that these are real,
Gotcha.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, I mean that's been it for that.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that your week brought some closure on some things, opportunities, and other things,
Yeah.
and sort of just seeing where everything's going to be going.
Yeah, for sure.
That's nice.
So
Um,
what have you
Go
been
ahead.
doing outside of work now?
Outside of work, I'm still working slowly but surely, and I think I sort of made this realization a little bit too late last week. But I'm just working a lot of my own stuff now,
Okay.
so sort of like still beefing up my portfolio little by little, day by day. I finished this book called "100 Things About like Human Interaction That Every Designer Should Know."
Okay.
So I'm still trying to read as much as I can. I'm still learning Photoshop on the side. Excuse me. I just realized that if this project that I'm working on isn't like going as fast as I would like it, that I shouldn't stress out about it, and I should just use it to like do things during the day, which doesn't require like late night after work sort of stuff.
Yeah.
To work on it then, so that not only do I get to sort of work on work stuff, but also work on my personal things, and then still have like a work life balance. Like I can come home and play video games, and it's not like coming home at 12:30 and be like, oh, well, let me just get an hour in.
Yeah.
It's like if I can get an hour in like 9:30 as opposed to 10:30, it's like a major difference. And it helps me sort of maintain some sort of ability to like continue to stay really physically active. I'm really active on the weekends, but I wouldn't mind sort of being a little bit more active during Monday through Friday, only because it's like really heavily weighted towards the weekend where I'll like go over 10 miles of like overall working out, like if it's like football into walking or what have you, or just
Right.
being spending a lot of time outside. And then like Monday through Friday, I'm sort of like a vegetable.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing. And plus, I figured hormonally working out more that way will be nice because I usually start the week really well, and I think it's sort of like all the endorphins I had on Saturday, Sunday. But that sort of does drop off as I'm like not moving and like not sleeping well. That might also probably help me sleep better. I would think.
Yeah. That's another thing I was going to ask you, like about the sleep issues that you've been having. I didn't realize how severe they were. I know that we've talked about it a few times over the years. Is this like an ongoing thing, or it just kind of happens every now and
I
then?
think it happens every now and then, and so usually what I like to do is like I'll shower right before I go to bed. I'll
Yeah.
shower, dry off, put some lotion on, and then like sort of hop into bed. And I'll sort of browse the internet for a little bit. And I've realized that I used to because I play Spotify and I have my computer shutting off automatically at 2:30 in the morning, so
Okay.
I don't have to worry about it. But I still feel like with my computer on like up until 2:30, and then even when it turns off, like it's still I feel like it's emitting something.
Like a
Uh,
sound, or
Not
just
a
like,
sound, just like maybe like a wave or something. I
I
don't
see.
know. I'm making
I
that
see.
stuff up. But you know what I mean? Like electrically, it's still stimulating my brain. Maybe not as intense as if the LCD screen is on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so now what I've done is I play everything. So like I'll just keep my computer now. Like when I go to bed, I put it in my work bag. Um, and I just play it through my iPad with a cover over it. So I set the timer for an hour. I play some Spotify like sleep sort of playlist, and then I just go to bed.
Yeah.
Um, on Wednesday, it was like I woke up once. Thursday, or no, I'm sorry, Tuesday night into Wednesday. What am I even saying? One of these nights this week, I woke up once,
Okay.
and it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. It's sort of like I wake up with a start, like I'm gonna be late for work. And then
That sucks when you wake up with like a start like that. Then
yeah, because
it's
then
hard to
like
go
I end up
back.
just checking my email a little bit, like going on Reddit for about 5 minutes, and then I can pass out again.
Yeah.
Um, and then the next night was like 3 times, and one night was 6 times.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. It was. It's been a tough week for sleep, and maybe it just requires me to work out more to like get myself tired. But and maybe I'm thinking like, is it me not hydrating enough? Because a lot of times, I wake up and I'm like, I'm not like I feel when I wake up that I'm dehydrated. So maybe that's another issue.
I see.
So I'm trying to figure out like, or like, is it something that I'm eating? Like I'm not exactly sure.
I see. Yeah, I don't know. I know how that feels. I don't typically have too much trouble with my sleep, and I just can't imagine, like, when I do, it's the worst. I feel terrible for the rest of the day. So I can totally imagine how difficult that would be to deal with on a day-to-day basis. I
It's really tough.
Yeah, I don't have a real solution or anything like that or any ideas. But I guess, like, if just shutting the computer off at least would be that could be a thing.
Hopefully, it's the beginning.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I'm trying to figure out like how to increase sort of my ability to go to bed. I don't want to uh, rely on drugs in any way
Yeah, exactly.
because that's sort of just a like down the rabbit hole we go.
Yeah, it could be like a temporary fix, but at the same time, it can really screw with everything at that point. Then you get that dependency on it, and you can't sleep
Yeah,
properly without it. Then that's just no good.
yeah. So we're it's that's still a work in progress.
Yeah,
Hopefully, I do know that I wake up more and more um, earlier on the weekends.
yeah. I did notice that. What, last week you said you woke up at 6 on Sunday?
Yeah, we'll go about 6 on Sunday, and I got a really nice lifting session
Yeah.
in. So I'm thinking about either doing that late tonight or early tomorrow before the football game at 3.
Yeah.
Uh,
Wait, is that a good idea? Are you going to be a little sore for the game then?
I don't know. I don't know. I think just doing some lifting with like chest buys and tries wouldn't be the worst thing.
Okay.
We'll see.
Just don't go ham there.
Yeah, right.
Got to make sure you're good for the game.
I think I'll be okay. I'll try and get there a little earlier, like toss the ball around and see how I feel. I've
Yeah.
definitely been stretching before the match, which is helpful because the first time I like started to like run as hard as I could, I like pulled my groin a little bit.
Right.
So that was a little bit embarrassing, but I've definitely gotten like last week we won our first match. Oh yeah, there you go. Last week we won our first match. It was crazy. Oh, we talked about this, did we?
I When was your game? Saturday?
Saturday.
Then yeah, we
Yeah,
talked
we did
about
talk
it.
about this. Yeah, it was a crazy moment for all of us, and we were all super excited. But it was just nice to sort of escape unscathed. Now I did open up another scab. There's this major scab on my left knee that is now very much close to being fully healed.
Yeah.
But for a good week and a half, it's like every time I showered, like there'd be like this like pretty steady trickle of blood down my left leg, and I kept thinking to myself, "Is this serious enough to go to the hospital or like see anyone about?" And like I have yet to see a doctor in New York City since I've come here for school.
Really?
Since 2007. Now I have health insurance,
Yeah.
right? I also don't buy the basic of anything. I buy the intermediate because I figured, I don't know why. I just don't feel like spending like the Mondo luxury plan when I don't go. But I do know that like I have like health, vision, dental, and all that stuff. But with dentists, I go home for that because my mom knows someone that like is basically a Chinese dentist that we're good friends with. So she goes, "Well, if you're gonna throw money at anyone, just throw it at here, and I'll cover the copay." I was like, "All right, fine."
Yeah.
So and like vision, my eyes haven't really gotten much better or worse. So I buy all my glasses on Warby Parker, and supposedly I needed like an updated prescription. But when I
Yeah.
went to go buy another pair the other day just to see what it was like, I could just import an old vision like prescription that I let them put in a while back, and that still worked. And it's like, well, my eyes haven't gotten worse in any way.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But
I hear you on that. I do
yeah,
need to myself. I need to get. I probably need to buy myself some new glasses, but I don't know if I need to actually change my prescription.
um, yeah, I don't. I mean, my eyes have gotten progressively better over the years.
Really?
I also don't know if I would ever want to do LASIK because I feel like glasses on me are such a established look, and I've got sort of a roundish, squarish face, so it's like glasses sort of help frame it better than sort of like what I would look like without glasses.
Yeah.
And just like with your eyes and shit, like I don't know if that's something that's worth like messing around with, you know?
I hear you. Actually, so I played. I had a friend over this week and we played tennis, and he got LASIK a few months ago, and I just
Yeah.
realized that I don't know if I ever actually asked him about it.
It's a super safe procedure.
Yeah, but I'm still worried about it, man.
Right? Because it's your eyes, man.
Yeah, I'm happy, like because, like you said, I don't think back in the day, maybe like in the 60s, 70s, maybe 80s, you didn't want to wear glasses. I guess even in the 90s too. My brothers used to make fun of me. I think.
Wow.
I got made fun of for a lot of stuff, so I probably got made fun of for glasses too
Nerd.
at one point. But like nowadays, all right, people who don't need glasses are wearing glasses
Yeah.
because it's a fashion statement.
Well, also that's been a major change only because glasses are now affordable with things like Warby Parkers. Like I remember growing up, my glasses were like $300. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you buy one, you get two, just so you have like a backup pair.
Hmm.
But like with Warby Parkers, like $99 for frames,
Yeah.
or like $120 including a prescription, like with like some good coating on it. Like $120 for glasses is not bad.
Yeah, it's not at all. I don't remember if I got my glasses from like coastal.com or I think it was iBuyDirect.com. But I got my glasses from one of those sites, and my glasses were definitely less than $100. But like when I went to the eye doctor, when I got my prescription, and I remember saying, "Can I just have my prescription? I think I'm just gonna get my glasses online." They were like trying to sell me
Yeah.
on it to go like. So I looked at a few of the frames in stores, and like, dude, when you're looking at the frames, first of all the cheap frames suck. All right.
Oh
Then
yeah.
you start looking at the frames that look decent, and they're like $400, and
Oh yeah.
that's like with insurance, man. I'm like, I'm good. I'm just gonna stay at home,
Right.
show my monkey.
Yeah. There's it's way too much, especially for like quote unquote designer frames.
Right.
It's like, do you really need like Gucci us like eyeglasses? Get out of here.
Right.
Yeah. But how do we get on this?
We were talking. You had mentioned you've never been to the doctor.
Oh, you're right. So like now that like that scab is somewhat closed up,
Yes.
um, it's I think we're good to go.
Yeah. So to change gears maybe a little bit, I've been watching a lot of the NBA playoffs these days,
Okay.
which I've been loving. First round is nowhere near as good as last year's first round. Last year's first round had so many game 6s and 7s, and I think the only sweep was the Heat against
The Knicks.
whatever team they played. Was it the Knicks or Nets? You said
Nets.
Nets. Okay.
I think it was the Nets.
Yeah, and there was also another.
It wasn't
There was
the Nets
another
because the Nets
series.
stole a game.
Was it?
Well, they won a game at home. Yeah.
Maybe no. It was the Hornets.
Yeah.
Because I remember
Yes.
Jordan. I remember LeBron looking at Jordan, and people made a big deal about it because he looked in his direction.
When he dunked, it's like, yeah, dude. Whatever.
So
Own it.
this year we've had like what 2 or 3 sweeps now.
Yeah. 4-0, 4-0, 4-1.
Yeah, but the Spurs and Clippers series has been great, and that's going to be the only game 7, and that's on tonight. So that's in what 4 hours now? Yeah, 3 hours and 46 minutes according to this countdown. So this game's at 8 tonight. Now, I'm definitely going to watch this game. I don't know who's going to win it. It's a home game, and home game for the Clippers. I shouldn't have said the home game. Home game for the Clippers. But this series has been back and forth, man.
Yeah, because
The
they each lost at home.
Yeah, the Clippers won game 1. They've both stolen a game. Clippers won for the game 1, then the Spurs won 2 in a row. So they won 1 in LA, then they won 1 in San Antonio. Then the Clippers stole 1 in San Antonio. So it was 2-2. Then the Spurs, they won game 5 and went up 3-2. That's the game where DeAndre goaltended
Yeah.
and
Well, he
they end
needed
up
to.
losing.
He needed to.
Right. And
In
they
my
end up,
mind, he needed to. I've seen like very convincing footage of the same moment from different angles. It's like, well, in this angle, it clearly shows it's going out, but in
right.
this, it's like, oh, I don't know if it is.
So they lost that game, but the Clippers complain too much when it
Well,
comes to.
no, yeah, it all starts at the top.
Yeah, I was listening to Bill Simmons, and he was talking about how so one of his podcasts. I don't remember if it was Bill Don't Lie, if it was the BS Report this week, but
Yeah,
he was
is it possible for one man to have too many podcasts?
it has to be. There has to be.
There has to
Bill
be.
Don't Lie is specific to basketball, so I imagine that once the season ends, there won't be very many episodes of that podcast unless there's like when teams are signing free agents and all,
Gosh.
and then there's the draft. But after that, basketball is pretty calm. It's not like the NFL where the NFL is like 365 days of the year.
Yeah.
Let's speculate on everything 24/7.
Well, I'm just
So
happy the draft is starting. So the day one of the NFL starts again in my mind.
not for me, man. Day one, the NFL starts on not even preseason.
Week one?
Week one. Day
Oh,
one, the NFL
stop
starts
it.
on week one.
Stop it.
It starts on that Saturday night game.
Oh, jeez.
I pay attention to stuff, but I don't like. First of all, I don't follow college football, so it makes it very difficult for me to even care about the draft or who's being drafted. I only know who's good based off of what I hear in the morning when I wake up and I turn on like Mike and Mike and they're speculating on who's going to be drafted first and second and third.
Right.
So, when it comes to the Colts pick, I don't even remember who we picked in the first round. I know that we traded our second round pick. The Bucks traded up and they took our second round pick and we got their third round pick. So we had no second round pick. I don't know what we traded for. Like, I don't know what they gave us to move up, but I don't know who we've picked up at all.
Gotcha.
I know that our first pick was a wide receiver, and I was confused by that pick.
Yeah, I was confused by the Chargers picks this year. We traded up 2 spots. Like, we gave up this year's 4th round and next year's 5th round.
Yeah.
To move up 2 spots to pick up Melvin Gordon III, one of the top 2 like sort of like blue ribbon running back guys to get picked in the first round. The other one was
Yeah.
Todd Gurley. I thought we needed more line help, O-line or D-line, and that sort of got exacerbated because in the second round we picked up a linebacker, Denzel Perryman from the U.
Yeah.
But supposedly he could potentially be better than Ray Lewis was when he was at the U. So it's like, ooh, let's not compare him to let's not compare him to Ray Lewis just yet, you know?
Yeah.
Like, if we just signed a Ray Lewis, it's over. Like, I'll be super excited, but come on. And we signed up another inside linebacker in the third. Not in the third. I'm sorry. We picked up a corner/safety, which also surprised me. I was like, oh, so no help to the line that we desperately need, because I thought we made it clear that a good offensive line can make anyone look good.
Yeah.
But I guess we do need like a good running back too. We'll see.
Yeah. So I'm worried about the Colts offensive line. We got Frank Gore and Andre Johnson.
Yeah.
In free agency.
Yes, you did.
We need an offensive line. It's why a lot of our running backs fail or struggle to be relevant in the Colts system. Like, you had Trent Richardson, who I still think could be a good running back or could have been a good running back, but the Colts offensive line doesn't produce holes that Trent's used to working with. And
Trent's a very north-south runner, isn't he?
I guess so. He doesn't cut the same way a lot of other running backs cut. Like, he's not very decisive. And so it's why we end up going with Boom Herron for he ended up starting the games. And I think Trent at one point didn't even fly out to one of the, I think was to the Broncos game.
Yeah.
I don't really think he traveled for that game. So, it's just, so we got Frank Gore, who, I like Frank Gore. I guess he could be good, but I think we need an offensive line, and we also got Andre Johnson. We already have Andrew Luck, who can make a lot of these receivers really good anyway, right?
Yeah, but you need someone to take pressure off Ty.
I guess so. That was the
Because you
thing,
don't have
because
anyone
Reggie
below
Wayne. Because
Ty. Yeah,
I don't know is Reggie Wayne done? I don't even know. This is how much I pay attention to football in the offseason. I don't know if he's coming back or not.
worst fan ever.
I don't think it makes me the worst fan ever. I'm just not like I'm captivated enough by basketball that I just don't really need to care about football right now.
Yeah, that's fair. But Andre Johnson's going to help a lot because he's still really big.
Yeah, he's so tall and just
Yeah, so it's a good way to take pressure off of Ty, because if Ty is number 1 and you've got like a really solid number 2, then
Do you think Andre will be a number 2?
I think Andre will be a number 2. I wouldn't mind seeing Andre at number 1, so Ty gets to sort of flash up against
Right.
less quality CBs, but like
I guess Andre could be. I guess yeah. Ty's probably has to be number 1 considering how long he and Luck have been playing together now.
yeah. I don't know.
But I don't know. I don't know enough about building a football team to really say much about these drafts. Like, I know that these GMs know more than I know. They know more. They know what they need.
Yeah.
But I still feel like I can recognize some of their holes, some of their problems, and whenever the Colts are drafting, I feel like they screw that up. Like somehow they don't pick what they actually need.
Yeah.
And
I hear you. Everyone, like especially in the Chargers subreddit, people were split between O-line help first round or running back. And the fact that we picked up a running back was not the camp that I would have found myself in.
yeah,
But we also, in my time, the only good running back as a Charger has been LaDainian Tomlinson.
yeah,
And I loved Ryan Matthews. I loved his backstories. You know, like poor as hell, living with your mom in your car and then becoming an NFL running back is great. I don't have anything personally against him.
yeah.
It just never worked out. And it's tragic that way, but, you know, what are you going to do?
Right.
So, we'll see.
So before the podcast, we were talking about betting on one of these NBA games.
Yeah.
So I did talk to you briefly, and again, this was off the podcast, but I feel like I made a mistake. I could have bet on a lot of these first round, like I could have picked series winners of a lot of these first round games or matchups. There were certain matchups that I wouldn't have touched. The Clippers Spurs being one of them. Mm-hmm. But I think all my other picks would have been right. I would have picked Atlanta. I would have picked Washington. No, I don't think I would have touched Washington. They played Toronto, but they did handle Toronto pretty easily. But I definitely would have picked Atlanta, and that one would have made me nervous with the way Brooklyn picked up 2 on them.
Yeah, absolutely.
100% picked Golden State.
Yep.
I would have picked Memphis because Portland has some injuries right now.
Okay.
And then you definitely picked Cleveland over Boston. Then who else do we have? I don't think I would have touched Houston and Dallas because I still feel like Dallas could have they got skills, but they got beat 4-1 against Houston. And I would have picked Chicago. So that's 5 or 6 of the games that I would have picked.
Yeah.
And obviously I can say this now, that I know who's won, but I think I could have confidently said that those teams would have made it through. And coming into this next series, so like, would you bet on the Clippers right now? They're playing at home against the Spurs tonight.
No, I would bet on the Spurs to win.
Would you? See, that's the thing, because the Spurs they've already won 2 on the road.
I also just think the Spurs are a better team.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they're older, but Kawhi Leonard's a beast.
He's so good, but like I don't think he's like so casual. Like he doesn't like pound his chest after like making a crazy cool dunk. He doesn't scream. He'll have like a fast break. He'll dunk it and just jog back to the other end of the court.
Yeah.
He wasn't the one who did it.
Right. That's sort of like what I like about Popovich is he's like, to me, Popovich is the Bill Belichick of the
Yeah, man.
Like, I've got a system. It's been working since David Robinson, right? And
Yeah.
it was crazy because I was reading this article about when Tim Duncan was at Wake Forest. Chris Paul also came out of Wake Forest.
Yeah.
That when Greg Popovich was calling with like 6 or 10 guys inquiring about Tim Duncan because they had basically not tanked. They still take offense that I'm saying tanking, but securing the number one pick.
Yeah.
They were calling Wake Forest and they were basically like asking Tim Duncan like, "Oh, do you do drugs? Are you into women? Like, what do like? It's impossible for you to be that clean."
Yeah.
And then when he got drafted and they started playing, Greg Popovich called the Wake Forest coach again and Tim Duncan, and like he goes, "I had to apologize for all of the questions that we had to ask you. We just didn't think we were getting a second David Robinson
Yeah.
because the Admiral and Mister Fundamentals like one of the greatest teams ever."
Right.
Like you talk about sort of needing like a 3-man team right now, right? That's sort of the commonly held notion of like how to build a good NBA team is like, well, you need 3 guys,
Your big three.
your big three, and some bench depth, right?
Right.
But with the Spurs, like, well, if I've got David Robinson and Tim Duncan, like, you try and drive on them.
Right.
It's crazy.
You just can't.
Yeah.
And the Clippers don't have that good of a bench. I think they've been outscored like
Are
crazy.
we putting money on this game?
No, absolutely not. I'm not touching this game. I would never touch this game.
So we'll start next round then?
I don't know if I'm going to start next round. So I did so this is the list of the next round, right? You have Memphis and Golden State. Would you bet on Golden State against Memphis? I think I would because I think Golden State. I don't know if they swept Memphis during the season, but I know they're better than Memphis. They shouldn't lose.
Okay.
Chicago and Cleveland. Cleveland's banged up, Cleveland's banged up because they lost Kevin Love for the rest of they've lost Love for the rest of the playoffs. He just had surgery, and JR is out for the first 2 games, and they're playing those first 2 games at home, so it's possible that Chicago could steal those first 2 games.
You think so?
I don't know. I guess it's possible.
I don't know.
That'll be an interesting one.
I'm willing to get. I'll take the other team.
What about Washington, Atlanta? This is the only one I think that I would bet on, and I would pick Washington because Atlanta.
If you picked Washington, then you got to give me points.
I got to give you points.
Yeah.
I'm just picking this. I'm just picking the series.
Okay.
The series winner. I'm not even gonna pick a game. I would just say I think Washington will win.
Like what we could do is you pick a series, I pick a series, you pick a series, I pick a series.
Yeah.
Because how many series are there this round?
There's 4.
There's 4.
Yeah, there's 4 now.
Yeah. And then we'll pick the finals, and then like we'll do we can do like $10. If we're only picking series,
Yeah.
right? Then we do something like like $10-20 a series win. Take it to the finals, and then decide like if we want to up it or keep it sort of the same or what have you.
Yeah. Now, who do you think? So if it's Clippers, so the winner of Clippers Spurs plays Houston. I think Houston could beat. The Clippers. I also think they could beat the Spurs.
I would pick the Spurs over Houston because I will never respect what's his face,
Dwight Howard. I love Dwight. Why does everyone hate Dwight Howard?
Dwight's a bitch.
Why?
I love Dwight Howard. I don't love. Wait, no. Hold on. Let's not keep flip flopping. I don't like Dwight.
That was so funny. You go. Dwight Howard's a bitch. Then you go. I love Dwight Howard. And you're like, no, what? I'm gonna stop flip flopping. You flip flop from Dwight Howard being a bitch, and that was an emphatic bitch. To I love Dwight Howard.
You're right, and I meant it when I said it. I didn't mean it when I said I love Dwight Howard. I did not mean that statement.
Do you love James Harden?
No.
No.
I think he's. I can like James Harden.
I think he's cool. He's good.
He's a cool dude. Yeah, I don't know. Who else is good on that team?
Fuck, what's
Beverly.
his name? Yeah, Beverly.
Is he really good?
Yeah, he's good.
Because he wasn't good in 2K14. Is that inappropriate?
You know.
Let's do that. Let's make this more interesting.
All right.
So we'll wait until this game, and then we'll pick. How about that?
Okay. Sounds good.
Awesome.
Who do you think goes to the finals?
Who do I want in the finals?
Yeah, sure. Who do you
I
want in
want
the finals?
Spurs versus Cleveland.
Spurs versus Cleveland. So you want the LeBron against Pop?
That's what
Again.
I want again because they absolutely destroyed him.
Yeah.
And in order for LeBron James to be considered one of the best ever, he needs to win at least another one because he only has one right now, right? Or two?
No, two. He's got
He has
two.
two. He needs more.
He
He
needs
needs
more.
more. I know he will. He most likely will not get MJ6.
I'll
How old is he?
LeBron?
30?
He's 30, I think now.
Hold on, let's look this up.
Google says that he is 30 years old.
So yeah, he has to win this one. In order
I don't
to
think he has to win this one. I think that I don't think Cleveland's going to have any problem getting any free agents from now on. Just by having LeBron James in the way the NBA is now, people are completely fine with moving around and joining like powerhouse teams. And I think they'll be willing to take a discount to play on those teams. If Kevin Love stays, I think they'll win next year. And that's a big if Kevin Love stays because he's a free agent after this year.
If he could still come, is he like 100% not coming back this postseason?
Yeah. He had
4 to
had
6
surgery,
months.
so he's out 4 to 6 months.
God damn it! Because they needed Kevin Love to post up.
Yeah.
You needed Kevin Love to post up. Gosh damn it!
Yeah, I was listening to Bill Simmons, and they were saying how big of a difference how much it changes the team because it forces LeBron to play power forward, and then they have to play like whoever they have to play some of their guards who aren't that good. I don't even remember who they were.
Right.
I think that it's going to be Golden State out of the West, and I want Chicago to make it to the championship game. I don't think they would have a chance against Golden State, to be honest.
I wouldn't mind if they went to the championship as well.
Yeah, I like Chicago. I really like Chicago, but I think Washington will make it. I think it'll be Golden State and Washington, which would be interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
You want to put your money where your mouth is?
Well, I think of all the teams that are left in the East, Washington is still pretty normal. Like Atlanta has so Millsap and Horford both have injury issues. They're playing, but I think both of them have shoulder problems right now. And then they've also lost Cephalosha because he got beat by cops in New York City. So his legs broke, so he's done.
He didn't get stabbed, did he?
No, he wasn't the one who got stabbed. I can't remember who the other guy was who got stabbed. But he was supposedly interrupting or like obstructing the police from getting to the scene, which is possible because it's like it's like a fraternity of guys in the NBA. It doesn't matter if you're on different teams because they were on different teams, but you want to make sure that the dude's okay. But there's a video now, and it shows Cephalosha and I can't remember who the other guy was outside being arrested, and Cephalosha's basically he's in handcuffs, but they're like pushing him, and then they end up like shoving him to the ground. Then one cop like pulls out his baton. I'm not sure if he hit him with the baton. So it's they're working it out now through the legal system, but he's done. And I don't think Atlanta will be able to beat Washington.
No.
And then
that's why you got to give me points.
With the whole Kevin Love situation, I don't know how Cleveland's going to do against Chicago.
I want LeBron to just become a monster and just eat everybody. That's literally how it's gotta go.
You want J.R. Smith to do that. J.R. Smith might
First of
come out.
all,
J.R. Smith is going to come out swinging.
ugh,
He's gonna
ugh.
come out swinging against. I guess I was gonna say Derrick Rose, but probably against Jimmy Butler because Butler's been on fire. So J.R. Smith is gonna try to knock out Butler for the rest of his career, and send Cleveland to the next round. They'll probably suspend him for one game for that one.
I I hate J.R. Smith. It's so hard to respect him
Yeah,
because he should have been one of the best Knicks, right? But what is
or
he
even
going to do?
Nuggets, or even a Nugget.
Yeah,
He did you look at that Reddit post that I linked you?
yes, I did.
There were so many videos of him like hitting people,
It's
like
absolute the fact like a full MMA elbow.
right. He'll like people will be going up for layups, and he'll like people are completely exposed when they're up in the air, and he'll just hit them while they're in the air and send them flying. Like they'll be going up for a layup, and they'll get hit, and they'll just like come crashing down on their arms and their sides, and immediately start a brawl. And he's done this so many times in his career, and it doesn't make sense that after swinging and punching, I don't remember who it was now, punching that dude in the face, he
He's
only
not
gets a
like
2 game suspension.
exactly. The man's a thug. And I don't want to say thug because thug is so like racially sort of, polarizing nowadays. But
I'll take an aside on that one really fast. I think it's ridiculous what people are saying about that. Like
yeah,
when Obama and the mayor of Baltimore said the word thug, they weren't referring to like protesters or anything. They're talking about the rioters. They're literally specifically talking about the rioters. I don't think there's anything wrong with calling those people thugs. Like thug is
yeah.
like a criminal.
There's Did you read the story of the people who try to light the pizza guy on
I
fire?
did, yeah.
Those are thugs.
Right.
People who are just quote unquote trying to maximize this one moment to be like to think like, oh well, if I'm gonna try and do something illegal, like I might as well do it now because there's so many like no way anyone stops me.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, J.R. Smith being a thug.
He's a thug. Let's just be clear about that.
There is the video with what's his name from the Lakers, the center.
Oh,
What's his name? Why am I forgetting his name right now?
yeah. What is that guy's name? I know who you're talking about. But to me, the one that was the most brutal is when he tried to do that guy. He tried to hit the guy in the soft part of his brain,
Yeah,
and he like I guess they were just like jawing a little bit in the paint, and he just didn't like that. They kept getting tangled up. So when the guy went to go for like was it a layup or a rebound, Jr. just did a full MMA whip of the elbow, and
yep,
he missed the guy's head, but
yeah.
it, you could easily knock
He tr-
somebody out.
he tried to kill him. That's what it said. That
You
was the title of
absolutely
the thing.
exactly. So you're telling me that a guy who isn't paying attention, right, is on the receiving end of you fully sort of like coiled body, going for an elbow. Like, come on,
Right.
let's be clear for a second.
Andrew Bynum. That's who it was
Well, Bynum's a
on the Lakers.
bitch.
Dude, I didn't realize how dirty he was. And I
Bynum's the
thought
worst.
what was crazy was this like the stark contrast between how the announcers responded to his exact same play. It was 3 or 4 clips of him literally elbowing people. Like he would take his forearm and elbow into people that were going up for layups when they were gonna score no matter what, and he would just take his elbow his forearm to these people and completely lay them out. And the announcers were like kind of fine with the first two clips. Then the third clip, I guess a couple of years had passed, and he does the same thing. It was a playoff game, so maybe that's why. But he did in a playoff game, and the announcers were like, "That is absurd. He should be ejected." Blah blah blah. He like walks away immediately. All like the other team starts trying to like start a fight, or like they start to approach him, and he just walks away. He just like walks off the court and he's done.
Yeah, like, oh, my bad, wasn't me. It's
They
like,
got blown out too. They were down 3-0, and they were down by like 30 points. It was like a minute left in the game.
yeah, just so we're clear, Bynum's nothing better than Jr.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because Jr. has such raw ability, like to drain deep shots
Right.
or drive the lane fearlessly. But no, what does he do? He he just
He punches people in the face
he
and
punches people in the face. It's so lazy. Like
well,
you be
not only that, you just saw your teammate, not only your teammate, like one of the top three scorers on your team go off the court with an injury. You don't know how severe it is at the time, but I know that you're aware that he's not coming back for this game, and he might not be coming back for a few games. You're a top four scorer on your team, so all of a sudden you've moved up in terms of like in terms of necessity to your team. They need you, and they need you to score, and they need you to just to be a good teammate. And what does he do? Like what? Oh, 1 or 2 quarters later, he clocks someone in the face and gets suspended for 2 games.
yeah. Like
That
what are
that
you
literally could
doing?
be the reason why they lose this series against Chicago. Like if they really lose these first 2 games without JR at
Oh,
home,
absolutely.
I don't think they'll be able to recover from that.
I I agree with you. It the it's so absurd.
Yeah.
It just angers me. Like people who sort of give almost like they really just throw away that gift.
Right.
Like all these people who are willing to work hard, but like you're always going to run into that, right? Like that's what makes someone a good prospect.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like Josh Gordon, for example, getting caught, with weed, then failing a drug test, and then failing another drug test for alcohol. It's like, really, dude?
Yeah, like
Really?
you couldn't.
You could, yeah. Like, not only you couldn't, like, so you want to say it was secondhand, but you couldn't even separate yourself from the people that are doing it. Like, you've already gotten in trouble for it once.
Right.
Why are you going to even be? Why would you even be near it? And if it's your friend's a piece of shit for even bringing that near you,
Absolutely.
because your friend knows. Your friend knows that you've been in trouble for this before, and if he's caught, it's like the NFL when it comes to substance abuse.
There is no messing around, dude.
Yeah, there's not.
Like substance abuse, I hate to say it, is more important to them than like assault,
Right.
which is, I mean, that's a discussion for another time. But
Yeah.
the fact that this is to like you just got to know who signed your checks, what makes them happy, what makes them unhappy. Like you can't be sort of like that blasé about stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like this, it's it's reckless.
Yep. I agree. Speaking of substance abuse, I think the NBA is changing their policy in terms of.
HGH.
Was it HGH or is it specific substances in general? Like, I guess performance enhancing drugs. I think they're gonna be trying to crack down and do more testings on players. And I think it was on Reddit. People were like, "Well, a whole lot of people are about to be getting suspended for this because I don't think they test the way they do in other sports."
What like how do they differ?
I'm not sure. That's what you never really hear about it, right? You hear about it in baseball and you hear about it in the NFL, but you don't really hear about people getting suspended for for performance enhancing drugs in
Right.
the NBA. So I'm not really sure what their policy is. It would be interesting to see.
Oh, absolutely. I have because it's such a different like contrast in terms of sports.
Yeah.
Like I can't even say like if a lot of people have like if drug sort of like abuse is a big thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure it is, but there's no way I am versed enough to make that comment.
Right.
I'm always a fan of drug testing, though. I think it depends on what sport it is and how it's sort of done. I think there just needs to be like an egalitarian approach to who gets tested, how often people get tested. Like the NFL is funny, right? Like if you kick over a 55-yard field goal, all the kickers are like, "Yep," and I got my drug testing, and the next day it's like,
Yeah.
"Really? Come on."
Right.
But then like with Floyd Mayweather with the fight, The longest time it was, well, we need US like not USDA, but like the actual doping uh like group to pull blood. You need blood and urine tests, but if you take blood out of a fighter the night before a fight, you're gonna mess with him.
Right.
You know, I mean, also, like, I'm very split on Mayweather. Like, I love his fighting technique, but him as a person is tough to get behind.
Right.
What else? Also, the fact that it just seems like he's been ducking the fight more than anything
Yeah.
up until this point.
I feel like it's got to be one of the big reasons has to be his undefeated record, and Pacquiao was the biggest threat to that.
Well, my Donna, the Mexican that he fought recently, where he won by decision.
Yeah.
Mayweather won by decision, was the closest one ever.
Yeah.
So they're saying that the sequel to that fight is in September for Mayweather,
Oh, I see.
and that depending on what happens tonight, everyone's saying that they know somebody who's on the inside, who knows how they're going to vote already. It's like, let's be clear, right? Not Hollywood, Vegas would have picked up on that immediately. The lines are where they are because Vegas will always know more than you. When there's billions, like they're saying today is like one of the most expensive days for betting because every sport has something going on.
Yeah.
Like the Kentucky Derby's today, so you know there's gambling there, right? That's white people gambling. Come on.
Did I tell you about the time when I went to San Diego and there was a big horse race and just see the outfits that people wear? I've never been to like a horse race before.
You must have gone to a nice one.
Well, we didn't actually go to the race. We didn't go to the event. It was just we were just in San Diego and we see people in the outlandish outfits, you know, the crazy ass hats and stuff like that.
Crazy white people outfits, right?
I was so it was funny to me.
It's like it's like the couple of times a year a white guy can dress up like a black guy who's going to church.
He looked like a pimp.
Exactly. It's like, all right, I see your like pastel pants, right?
Yeah.
I see like it's always like the pinks, the purples, really it's just pastel. There's really no other way to say it.
Yeah.
It's
will you watch the Mayweather fight?
I want to, but I also don't know where I'll be.
So I would not pay for this fight. $100 for a fight. Like, I'm not a boxing fan, and I feel like a lot of people are gonna pay for it just because it's a big spectacle. But I'm not enough of a boxing fan to pay for it. Now I could go to like Buffalo Wild Wings or to a bar to watch it, but I don't really know anybody that's doing that in the area, so I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna do that by myself. And I just don't know if I really want to support Mayweather as a person too. You know,
right?
So
I mean, it's also one of the rare moments in this world where an Asian man can beat the shit out of a black man and come out on top. Is that appropriate to say?
I guess so.
I said it.
I didn't realize how much.
I like Pacquiao.
Yeah.
I think Floyd Mayweather's a better fighter. Technically. There's just something about the way he trains that I don't know. I want Pacquiao to win.
Did you watch that? Was it an HBO show?
I did.
That followed. Okay.
Amazing.
I've never
how
seen it before.
selling this fight. Basically, both people came from the inner city, right?
Yeah.
Both people came from really, really poor backgrounds and used boxing as a way to cope with their lives.
Isn't that kind of crazy that Mayweather came from a poor background?
Absolutely.
Considering his dad?
I mean, yeah, but just because you were successful at one point, right? Like, broke, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
30 for 30
yeah,
special?
30 for 30, yeah.
That stuff doesn't surprise me.
You're right. I didn't realize how much trouble Pacquiao's in with the Filipino government.
Oh yeah,
his tax evasion. I googled it yesterday.
How crazy is that?
He supposedly owes $50 million. That's US dollars.
Yeah.
To their government.
Yeah.
I was like, what? $50 million?
But let's be clear though. If you were a fighter and you were like, he is conservatively looking to make $100 million in this fight.
Yeah.
Mayweather is looking to make more in these 36 minutes, 12 rounds, 3 minutes each, than LeBron will make in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay, this is like
Well,
what's
yeah,
crazy
yeah.
about that is the fact that Mayweather is potentially illiterate, but his business acumen is so strong that when he originally he used to be part of like a holding group where fighters got paid lump sums in the beginning. He bought his way out of that contract in order to sort of control how he gets paid now. He basically he takes in all the risk. He doesn't take any money directly out of the fight. He goes to the purse and the sort of the pay per view revenue,
Yeah.
and he lets HBO and Showtime they first take their cuts, and then he's the next one in line. So that's why he was able to buy out of his contract for $750,000, and he now stands to make out of that change in how he gets paid over
Yeah.
$150 million.
Wow.
Think about that.
That's insane.
Back
I
then,
can't
people
imagine
never
that.
thought that boxers would make this much per fight.
Right.
Like, oh, like you're looking to make more than 20 million out of this fight? Are you crazy? It's like, yeah, dude, I'm making 100 on this one now.
How much money do you think he has?
I mean, he has enough for 3 Bugatti Veyrons that he never drives.
I saw that when Stephen A. Smith was touring his house and they showed a little clip of it and he had like three of those. He had like three Bugattis, but he doesn't have like a garage. It's like a showroom. He has like
Yeah.
multiple rooms with multiple crazy cars, and he has so many houses with duplicate cars in these different houses. He might have a house in like L.A. with
Yeah.
like 15 cars and have a house in like New York with like 15 cars. That's an absurd amount of money on things that you don't really need. And I wonder if he pays his accountant well to make sure that he doesn't go broke.
I think he absolutely does. I think you would have to pay your money manager really well because it's so easy to just like blow money
Yeah.
if you're not careful. Um, I think he absolutely does.
Yeah.
I don't know. What else are you reading, watching, or took that like really jumped out at you this week?
I mean, I've been paying attention to the whole like Baltimore riots these days. I didn't even know what was going on. I guess what was it Monday that
Yeah.
the riots, like the protests and riots, started happening.
Freddie
I didn't
Gray.
even know what was going down. I really didn't know what was going on in Baltimore until that day when I went on Reddit and I saw that people had been rioting the night before. Because I don't watch a lot of I get a lot of my news I guess from Reddit, and I don't really like to watch a lot of the news channels these days. And I saw what was going on, so I started tuning in and paying attention to it all. So that's kind of what I've been watching. We don't have to go into detail about it now since we're like
Yeah.
pretty far in the podcast now. But
Let's save
I've been
it.
paying attention to that.
I think we should save it.
All right.
Hopefully, hopefully it dies down for the right reasons. I know that the cops got charged
Right.
with homicide.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's such a tricky topic to sort of condense in any way.
Yeah, it is. People have their opinions about it. It's become it's like it's a polarizing thing when you watch it on the news. It's like it's us versus them, and it's very easy to identify with them, and it's easy to identify against them, and
Right.
and it becomes I think that you lose the message, you lose the point, and no one really pays attention to you. So I think the riots are a damn shame.
They
That riots
absolutely
even
are.
happening.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I'm reading this Quartz article right now. It says if Asian Americans saw white Americans the way white Americans see black Americans. All right. I'll just go through this article and we can round out this podcast.
Okay.
Because white Americans often use Asian Americans as, quote, the model minority, a reference to the perception that they are high achievers relative to other American ethnic groups. If Asian American, this guy's tweeting Anil Dash. If Asian Americans talked about white Americans the way whites talked about black folks, they'd bring back the Exclusion Act. Sort of talking about how, Asian people would talk down about whites.
Yeah.
He goes, Asian Americans aren't just model minorities, he argues. Data shows that they have surpassed white Americans in so many ways that Asian Americans could talk about white Americans as disparagingly as white Americans talk about the country's black population. He goes, quote, "We could point at how white Americans compare to Asian Americans in violence and education and income. We could call your kids thugs." He goes, "What Americans earn by race, ethnicity compared with white men. Asian women make 88 cents on the dollar. Asian men make 113% more. So $1.13.
Yeah.
White women make 76.9. It's just like, so, all right, so Asian men make more than white men, right?
Right.
Young Asian Americans between ages 25 to 29 are better educated. 60.1% of the Asian population here have a bachelor's degree, while whites is 40.4. And then like divorce rates, whites are at 11.6, Asians at 5.1. So it's just interesting, right? Like, so who's the model minority?
Right.
Really? Like who should we be really, quote unquote, comparing ourselves to?
Yeah. And I think like I feel like my biggest thing when it comes down to it all, you know what? No, I won't even go into it this week.
Yeah, let's save this because it's too important of a topic to like sort of curtail at the end.
Right.
So yeah, I guess if that's all we're going to talk about this week, that's all I have.
Yeah. That's it.
All right, man. Well, I'm Sandy.
I'm Reza.
Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next week.